Good morning, everybody. This is Lauren and Toby here on this Wednesday morning. I think if you have taken a look outside this morning, you will see why I am coming to you via video and not parking lot prayer. It is wet and sloppy and yucky out there. But I thought that I would share with you a bit of the devotional that I was going to share at Parking Lot Prayer. And it comes from the 32nd chapter of Genesis, starting in the 22nd verse. And it says, "That night Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok River. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, 'Let me go, for it is daybreak.' But Jacob replied, 'I will not let you go until you bless me.' The man asked him, 'What is your name?' 'Jacob,' he answered. Then the man said, 'Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with human beings and have overcome.'" So I have to tell you, the first time I actually really heard this passage of scripture was of all places at a funeral. And it was the funeral of a little boy, an infant, the son of 2 of my dear friends. And of course, they and everyone who was there was just absolutely heartbroken. And when the preacher first stood up to read the scripture and start to preach, I thought it was strange that of all passages, this is the one she chose. But it made sense. She started to talk about the fact that over the course of their son's illness, this passage had really become a touchstone for the parents because they were wrestling with God and with the world, with their son's illness, with all of it. And it was just this constant battle, dealing with fear and anger and hope and love. And through all of it, they refused to let go of God because they knew they had been promised a blessing. Now, for me, thanks be to God, these last 7 months have not been an issue of life or death. It has been for a lot of people. But even barring the battle of life and death, I have to tell you, I have been wrestling a lot with God lately. And I imagine that I am not the only one. I imagine a lot of us have been wrestling with God. For me, it has been anger over the existence of this virus and frustration at having my life and my movements and my patterns restricted so much. And at the same time, a frustration with a sometimes lax interpretation of those restrictions. I am sad, especially as we come into the holiday season, that I can't be with my family. I can't be with my parents because my immediate family and I are no longer quarantining, and we would just pose too high a risk to them. I am mourning the fact that these first months in a new congregation have not been what any of us would have expected them to be. We've not been together and gotten to know one another in the ways that we would have expected normally. And it's hard not to be spending as much time as I would usually out doing hands-on things in terms of mission and ministry. All of this has been hard. All of it has been a wrestling. But I have to tell you something. I refuse to let go. I refuse to let go. Because God has promised there is blessing. There is blessing. Now, some of it I have already experienced. I have experienced the blessing of more time with my family than my immediate family at least, than I ever would have imagined possible. I have gotten to spend more time out in nature and appreciating God's changing of the seasons and enjoying these mountains. I've gotten to spend more time outdoors in the last 7 months than I have in the last 8.5 years that I have lived here. But I know that the blessing is not done. I know that God has more in store. There's more coming. And I know that there's more coming in the life of the church. And I look forward to what that's going to be. You know, is that going to be more appreciation that we will have for our interconnectedness? Is it going to be a clearer focus in terms of our vision and mission in the community? Is it going to come to pass in terms of more creativity in our ways of bringing good news to our community? I hope it's all of those things. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know that there is blessing to come because God has promised it. And so today, just in case you're wrestling too, I wanted to share that. And I wanted to remind you, do not let go. Keep holding on. Because God has promised blessing. It is in store. And even if at the end of all this, we come out with a bit of a limp, like Jacob did, we will have seen the face of God. And that will make all of it blessing. Friends, be safe today. Stay in love with one another and with God. Reach out to somebody and tell them that you care because they might be wrestling too. And I look forward to seeing you on Sunday morning. Blessings. Bye.